2010's Berkshire Hathaway shareholder letter, Warren Buffett expressed that for most people, home ownership is actually a very sensible choice. However, he would have made far more money if he had just rented and instead used that money to buy more stocks. Let's talk about the exact quote. He said, "Home ownership makes sense for most Americans. All things considered, the third best investment I ever made was the purchase of my home. Though I would have made far more money had I instead rented and used the purchase to buy more stocks." Buffett mentions that home ownership can be a nightmare if people buy more house than they can afford. Now, should you actually rent? How do you know if you are better off buying than renting? I'm going to be using my own personal example. I live in Toronto, Canada, which is actually one of the most expensive places to live. And buying a home, like literally houses from here in Canada, Toronto, or the Greater Toronto area in general, like if you like a house, it's usually at least $800,000 and higher for like a semi-detached or a townhouse or a condo. Like it is extremely expensive. So if you can use a rent versus buy calculator, these you can use for literally your own city where you live in, for you to figure out what is the best way to go. Should you rent or should you buy? So I live in Toronto. The average rent is around $2,200. Is actually a lot higher. The average rent right now in Toronto is like $3,000, so it is extremely expensive, but I still took a more conservative estimate. A purchase home, I put 800 grand, but again, these homes are extremely expensive. You're looking at $1 million, a lot of these homes. 20% down. The interest rate, I put the lowest 5-year fixed interest rate, which is 5%. Amortization at 25. We're looking at a property growth rate of around 2%. The result is that buying is actually better for me personally, because if I don't live in the property for 17 years and longer, it is actually better for me to rent. And now you should definitely be doing this exercise when purchasing a property, because yes, it is a very emotional investment. Like honestly, if I wanted to buy a house, I don't think I could realistically buy an $800,000 house. I would want like a nice house with a nice backyard if I'm gonna live in it for 20-30 years or spend a lot of my life there. So it's a very emotional decision, and a lot of the times you talk to people, they equate your rent that you pay with the mortgage payment. Like if you're going to pay rent, you're just putting money down the drain because you're paying somebody else's mortgage. But that honestly is not real, because you are not paying for utilities, you are not paying for maintenance, you are not paying to furnish your big home that you're buying. You're not paying for maybe you're mowing your lawn or taking care of your lawn or fixing up the roof, or if something goes wrong, you're fixing it. Like these are serious costs. You are not paying for insurance, you're not paying property tax. Like there's so many things you're not paying as a renter, but you are paying as a homeowner. Like being a homeowner is extremely expensive. Now the reality is that we have been taught from when we were younger that being a homeowner is a very important decision, and that is something that we must strive towards, and I do agree. But it is not a form of investment. Your primary residence is not a form of investment, because it is a place for you to stay. It is like renting, it is just a place for you to stay, but it's a more luxurious one at that. The thing is, the only way you would profit from your home is when you sell it. But even when you sell it, you do need a new place to live. So you're just putting the equity you built into the new house. So technically there is no money being made. Another thing that a lot of people do is actually take a home line of credit. You basically take a loan against your house and use that money for other sorts of investments. But again, that is extremely risky. Now let's talk about historical returns. Literally the most important reason why you should be looking at whether you should be putting your money into houses or stocks. When I say houses, I mean your primary residence. So stocks, for example, are more liquid and honestly have a far higher return on your investment than houses. Historically, stocks have returned an average of 8 to 12%, while real estate has generated returns of 2 to 4%. Now, if you actually do want to generate income with your house, you can first house hack So you have your primary residence and you are renting out rooms or spaces within your house, or you buy a property, flip it and sell it for a profit, or you rent your house out completely. You can buy individual stocks or ETFs, which are a lot of stocks bundled up together. You can obviously buy S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in America. Warren Buffett says that is literally one of the best ways for everyday investors who don't have time to track the market and read reports should be buying. So ideally, you should definitely be looking to the S&P 500. They return 8 to 10% historically. So with real estate, you definitely have tax benefit. With homeowner tax benefits, you're also paying property taxes, insurance, utilities, and a cost of repair. So there's a lot of costs that go with it. However, when you do buy real estate, like for example, if you purchase a property that is $100,000 with a 20% down payment and the property appreciates by 3%, you have still 15% gain on their initial investment of $20,000. The thing is that with real estate, you're actually using a high degree of leverage to purchase a property, which can dramatically magnify the return on your equity. Now, let's talk about the Canadian returns real quick. It is extremely similar to the American one. Well, where historically, stocks tend to increase more in value than real estate. In this case, S&P 500 returns 9 to 10%, while Canadian real estate prices have only increased about 5.35% over 10 years. Moreover, studies have shown that the global housing beats inflation by 1.3%, and stocks beat inflation at about 6%. The main thing to remember here is that your primary residence is not an investment property. You are actually putting money in, whereas usually for investments, they should be giving you money. That is the main difference here. But if you have a rental property or your house hacking, there's definitely some sort of profit here. The main thing about buying your home is that you have to see it as buying your house. It is definitely a form of luxury, and not finances are not the only thing that give you happiness. Owning your home, even if you know it's not the best decision financially, can still give you happiness and make it worthwhile. So everything is just not about money. But whereas for stocks, rentals, if you flip anything, that's where you would definitely see you would want a good return on your investment. So this is where stocks historically have done better. Another thing for homes is that it's such an emotional investment that even when the market is high, and ideally you should be selling your home, a lot of people don't sell their homes because it's a very emotional investment and it is your place to stay. So it is not the most financially savvy thing for people to do because they're so emotionally invested into their house. So you should just see it as this is your home, I love it here, it makes me happy, and not see it as an investment. So I hope you like this video and got something out of it. These are actually very hard discussions because as somebody that's Indian, buying your home is literally one of the most important things. Once you graduate university and you have a stable job, it's usually buy your home, and it's like just buy your home and live in it. Like there's literally no other form of investment that is being talked about, and people don't realize that you could get more money on your investment on other forms of assets. You don't really need to buy a home, and it is very hard to pretend you have your home and you found a good career opportunity elsewhere. If I sell my home before 17 years of it being worthwhile, I'm actually losing a lot of money, and I have to sell that home and pay the person that's selling my house, like the realtor, pay the fees, I'm paying taxes. Like there's just so many expenses associated with it, where if you know for sure that you have found your place, you have found your city, and you want to live there forever, you definitely should be thinking about buying a home. But it needs to make sense to your life. You have to view it as, instead of renting that same money, if I buy a house, is it worthwhile? Like, or even if I put in more money, is it still worthwhile if I live in this property for this X amount of time? There's a lot of factors that go into it, and this is very important. Like, just buying a home or just renting is not throwing your money away or paying for somebody else's mortgage. You're actually using that difference elsewhere to make you more money, which is definitely more important. And talking about other sorts of investments are also very important. A lot of us are not taught about this. We just think that buying our home and living in it is sufficient. Like, yes, you've made it in life, but there are other more better liquid ways for you to invest your money. So I hope you like this video, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.